Hi everyone, it's William here, resuming the Grand Duke Dmitri 1921 diary series. I am here in the dining room at Hotel Schatzau in Davos, Switzerland, which was formerly Sanatorium Schatzau, where Dmitri spent the last about 2.5 years of his life. He died here in 1942. And today, we are nowhere near that fateful date. We are up to 17th April 1921, which was a Sunday in Paris. Dmitri's address at that time, as he tells us with every diary entry when he's at home, is 76 Rue Miro-Mesnil, or I should say was 76 Rue Miro-Mesnil. So a recap for the last diary entry, the 16th of April. Sorry, I seem to be a little muddle-headed. Maybe I've had too much sun. You can see I got a pretty bad sunburn on my face sitting out on the balcony today and yesterday. So a recap for the 16th, which was in Vichy. They spent their last day of their trip in Vichy. The weather was bad, and Dmitri talked about both nature and Coco being sad. And he said that as for him, he wasn't sad about going back to Paris. He was very anxious to get back for Maria's birthday, and the trip had been a good one, but not totally successful in the sense of bringing him and Coco together, really. Okay, so our cast today is just Dmitri and Coco, as it has been lately. And here we go. We got up very early in the morning, around 6:30, in order to get on the road as quickly as possible. We would need to drive about 350 kilometers to get to Paris. And that's not a great distance, of course, but the weather did not look promising, and as it turned out, it was 100 times worse than we had expected. We took our old friend, Route Nationale number 7, and drove through some very pretty places. We ended up leaving at around 9 o'clock. The road itself was wonderful, except here and there when there were terrible potholes. Around 11 o'clock, it started raining, and I had to put the top up. Then it became awfully cold, and the rain turned into thick snow, real Russian snow with wind. I had to raise the windshield in front, which made it even colder. Finally, the storm became so violent and the snow so thick that Coco and I decided to stop and have some hot coffee. That was around 11:30, and by then we had already gone about 150 kilometers. When we got back into the car and I took the wheel, my hands got so cold that I was prepared to give up the post of driver. By that time, there was 1.5 inches of snow on the road, and the world around us immediately began to look like a Russian world. It was a little sad and moving. We had lunch in some tiny town, the name of which I have, of course, forgotten. They fed us some weird crap. Fortunately, the shit they gave us was warm, so we thawed out a little. It just occurred to me that maybe that wasn't the ideal diary entry to do in the dining room here, where the food is superb. But anyway, it is what it is. I don't want to redo it. Okay, so one thing that confuses me about this is the idea of raising the windshield. How could they have been driving at all without a windshield? And the words are correct, the verb for raising, the word for windshield, but the concept, it just doesn't make any sense, is it? Does it? I mean, they're in a convertible, they put the top up, and then when the rain turns into snow, into thick snow, Dmitri says he had to raise the windshield in front. Does he mean that he somehow removed the windshield? But then that would be even worse, wouldn't it, with this thick snow blowing in your face? It doesn't seem that that would even be possible. He says that whatever he did, it made it colder, which sounds like a window was opened, but your guess is as good as mine as far as what was happening there. But they persevere, even when the storm gets really bad. I give him credit for that. That would have been a nightmare for me. I hate driving in even a little snow, and I even hate even worse driving in pouring down rain. But anyway, when he says they stopped to have some hot coffee, again, it kind of confuses me a little, because did they have coffee in a thermos? Had thermoses been invented back then? Maybe, 1921, I have no idea. Or did they stop at a little roadside place? He just doesn't make that clear at all. The way he tells it, it sounds like they stopped, they got out of the car, they stood there on the road and somehow drank hot coffee. I don't think that's what he's trying to say. Then when they get back in and he puts his hands on the steering wheel, oye, it's freezing. So he didn't have gloves, I suppose. They'd gone off to the Riviera, and he didn't have gloves, I guess. So his hands got really cold. Maybe Coco did have gloves, because he almost reached the point that he was willing to let her drive, I guess. I mean, who else would it have been? My sense of this is that the servants had probably taken the train on ahead. I think that it was Dmitri's habit usually, but not always, to send Savonia, his valet, on ahead if he could, but it doesn't seem like the servants have been with them. They had two servants, his valet and Coco's maid, and it doesn't seem that they are traveling together. So the only option then would be for Coco to drive, and yeah, she did drive, didn't she? Because he told us at the beginning that she drove through Paris, and only when they were outside of the city limits did they switch places, and he drove the rest of the way when they were going to Rouen. This time around, he's driven the whole way until now, and he is, despite in a general sense being a male chauvinist, apparently he's about reached his limit, but almost ready to give her the wheel. He doesn't actually. I wonder how she felt about the whole thing, if she even wanted to drive. And then, you know, this interesting sort of poetic idea of this is real Russian snow, and it's transformed the world into a Russian world. And the word he's using is kind of equivocal. It could be, he's using the word nature. So nature is now Russian. But how to express that in English? You look around you, if you say nature is now Russian nature, that doesn't work in English. What do you know, nature, okay, what do you mean? The trees? The ground? I don't know. So you look around you, and the world that you're in at this precise moment has been transformed into a Russian world through nature, I guess, because the snow is natural. And it makes you a little sad, because you don't know if you'll ever return to Russia, and you miss it, and it's also moving. Gosh, that reminds me of an experience I had when I was taking an evening film class, and we went to an art house theater in Portland and saw Dr. Zhivago. We all went together. The class was a small class, and we all went together in a van, and on the way home, it started, well, while we were still in the cinema, it started snowing very thickly, and at some point on the way home, the van had a flat tire. or no, or the battery, I can't remember, but we had to push it for a ways. Maybe it did have a flat and we had to push it off the road, or a dead battery. I don't know. I'm flubbing this. But anyway, we all started humming the theme song from Dr. Zhivago as we pushed this van through the thick snow. And that was a moment I remember. And it was kind of like the world was transformed into a Russian world at that moment. And it was a little sad and it was a little moving, but, you know, not in the way this was for Dmitri. So, yeah, I like it when he's a little bit poetic like that. He's not at all poetic, of course, about the food that they had for lunch in this tiny town. Probably just as well that he forgot the name of it. I don't know why the food was weird, but at least, as he says, it was warm. He doesn't use the word weird very often. This may actually be the first time. So it makes me curious, but of course we'll never know. And I'm really rambling in this one, so apologies for that. What do we have next time? Well, next time, to put it very briefly, it's sort of Coco versus Maria, where he stands with each of these two women upon his immediate return to Paris, literally as they drive into Paris at the end of this trip. And it will be a continuation of the same diary entry for the 17th April 1921. And so I hope to see you next time. Bye.